Hey y'all, it's Barbara and Tim, and we are at Oak Cemetery in Fort Smith, Arkansas. We're going to show you some graves of people that were killed in the 1898 tornado that swept through Fort Smith. And we're going to start here.
Yeah, with there's so many that died that day on what was it, January the 11th of 1898, and this here is James. He's the son of J.A. and S.B. Smith. He was born October the 6th of 1877, and of course he died on January the 11th of 1898. And the article says that the storm came through Fort Smith on January the 11th, just after 11 p.m., and was just out of nowhere. This storm came up, and of course James, he was young. He was only 21 years old at the time, and he was working late in their family store, and he was working diligently trying to make a store for the people. That's the way they did back then. They worked late hours, cleaning and restocking shelves and stuff, and that's where he was at when the storm hit and demolished the store. Was a total waste or loss, and plus he lost his life.
It was Smith, excuse me, Smith Grocery Store, and it was destroyed in the tornado. And I think we have like 4 or 5 different graves we're going to show you with their little bit of a background, and they have children, the ones that
Yeah,
lost their lives with their children.
but that wasn't all. I mean, they had the federal court going on, so they had people from out of town that were, staying in local hotels and wherever, to for the federal court that was in session. And so it was extremely warm that day, they said it was January the 11th, and it was all the way up into the 70 degrees. And then without any warning at all, of course they didn't have any warning systems back then, and everybody's most people are at home in bed sleep, and all of a sudden here they got hit by this storm. And okay, so on the storm there was over 50 people that lost their lives in Fort Smith alone, and 113 were injured. And this is another family, mother, Susie Napton. She was the wife of M.D. Napton. She was born in 1860 and died during that storm of 1898. And she was at home, and her son, M.D. Napton Jr., he was born in 1886 and died in 1898. And so he was 12 years old.
And she was 37 or 38.
And
We don't know the month of her birthday, so she was either 37 or 38. This is her husband. He didn't die in the storm. Moulton Dodson Napton, born November 18th, 1854, died September 4th, 1915. He was not killed in the storm. Just the mother and the 11 or 12-year-old boy. And this is another family that lost several.
yeah, Ferell. This is Edwin S. Ferell. He was born April the 7th, 1862, and died January the 11th, 1898. And this is Elvira Ferell, born March 6, 1870, and died September the 15th of 1903. So what was the deal with her? She didn't die that night, but they lost their children, right?
Right here. I think this is going to be the children.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see that very well, because she died in 1903, so she didn't die in the storm. Roy A. Ferell, and this is son of.
It's going to be son of Edwin and
This is Irene.
so they died in the storm with their dad. And Irene,
She was 8, looks like 8 years old, born in 1890. And their son was born in 1895. So he was only 3.
and I believe what the article said, look at my gimbal. The article said that the mother survived but died from her injuries in 1903. I believe that's right.
She never recovered from her injuries.
And grief also.
Sure.
You know, this one is completely. That one's 1892, so they lost a child earlier than the tornado.
1892, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to walk right over here. We have another family for you.
And did we say that this is Oak Cemetery again?
Yes.
It's just absolutely full of history here. There's no telling how many funerals they had on the same day.
In this cemetery. There are 15, I found 15 or 16 that were buried here from that tornado that died on the 11th. Some died from their injuries at a later date.
And
is this it? No, that's not it.
No. But you know that the Smith family that had the store, everybody knew them. Everybody come into the store.
Yeah.
And everybody knew the 21-year-old boy.
There we go.
And this is Millard. And I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but we think it's how do you pronounce it?
Lefevre? Not for sure, but I'm sure some of you out there know, and you'll make sure we know. Thank you so much for that. October 4th, maybe. 1854, died January 11th, 1898. Gone but not forgotten. And they have...
yeah, you can probably see this one just fine. Charles Levere, born December the 2nd, 1882, and died January 11th, 1898, during that storm. My goodness.
Charles was 15. It looks like he was 16 here, but in the article it said 15.
And this is John, born July 14th, 1885, and died January 11th, 1898.
13 years old. Is there anything on this side?
Yes. All 4 sides.
Now see, she died in 1903 also.
August of 1903.
I think that
this was Mary, and we might,
the
storm was devastating. Just really took its toll on Fort Smith. I think it's ranked it's like number 21 of the worst tornadoes that's ever hit America, the United States. And it's ranked number 2 in the worst in Arkansas history. And then the other thing that a lot of people should know is that in 1996, which was 98 years later, Fort Smith had another storm that came into Fort Smith on the exact same path, dropped in Fort Smith from the west and the south and hit Fort Smith. And what's crazy is it was just after 11 p.m., which is the same time of the storm of 1898. And in 1898, the storm came through, just popped up out of nowhere, And then they said by 11:40, the air was calm, and there was not a cloud. It was dark, but there was no clouds. Everything was on fire. They had, I guess, gas lighting is what they call that back then, and so we don't know. You know, they said that immediately after the uh, storm came through and knocked the buildings down, that these everything was built, out of wood. Most of the, at least the top structure, and of course the foundations had a lot of wood in them, but they had rock support or concrete, and so then it immediately caught on fire. We think that was because of the gas lighting and stuff, but pretty bad deal to that time frame. And the difference between then and now, the storm that came through Fort Smith in 1996, there was a total of 2 deaths in Fort Smith, and then the storm continued over into Van Buren, which is the same way it went in 1898, and it took 2 lives in Van Buren. So here we are again at some more of the deaths, and this is Charles Single, and he was born in Brumeth, France.
France.
It's Brumath, and I don't know if it's Brumeth, France, but he was born October the 5th of 1845, and he died in the storm, or shortly after the storm. It was February the 8th, 1898. A lot of people were badly injured.
And what is that down there?
Member Hughes Battery, CSA. Huey's Battery?
Now
I don't know what that means.
Boy didn't die in the tornado, but we're here. He John Single. You know what? I bet it's this one because it was in 1865. Let's see. This last man had a son that drowned. Yeah, it's this one. Look how old it is.
Is that Lewis? Son of Mr. J and M, or J and Ms. S.
What is that? I don't know.
Single.
Single. Oh, yes.
They spelt it like a crazy S on the end. It is Single. And born on the 4th of April of 1855 and died. Can't read that part
August
over there.
August 30th, it looks like, 1865.
So 55 to 65, just 10 years old.
Maybe it was August 20th. I don't know.
I think that looks like a 20.
Yeah, August 20th. So he wasn't in the tornado, but he drowned in 1865. When I was researching the deaths from the tornado, when I came to his dad, this also came up. So I thought, well, it's worth, let's mention it.
But there's multiple graves out here that more that died in the tornado, and this is just one cemetery. Like I said, there was a lot of people that was here from out of town, from the Springdale area, Madison County, Arkansas, where they were here because of the court being in session, the federal court, and a lot of people to testify. So they said there was a lot of farmers, and I think 2 of the people that were on trial, which was held on January the 10th, and 2 of the men that were accused, I think, of some whiskey violations, running moonshine, they died in the tornado as well.
So there were over 50 deaths on that day. More died from their injuries at a later date, but there was reported 113 injured on that day. Now, every article I read, the numbers changed, but I think what happened was different newspapers were reporting And the numbers did keep changing because they kept digging bodies out of the rubble. So the numbers, I think that's why we keep getting different numbers, but we know it was over 50 deaths. And
Yeah.
so we're going to wrap this up. And that is our story on the 1898, the deadly
Yeah, so be
1898.
thankful of the warnings that we have these days because, like I said, and the difference of 1898 and the storm of 1996, you know, over 55, there was 55 they know of. There was more than that, I think, at that time. And then in 1996, we had 4 deaths total, 2 in Fort Smith and 2 in Van Buren. And so thank your news people for
The warning system, yeah, people were able
and the
to
construction.
take cover. So that's our story. And thanks for watching, and watch for a new video, because we're going to go out and run around and try to find some out in the woods. I think we're going to go dig around in the woods a little bit and see if we can find you another endangered graveyard. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.